What if you could reverse muscle aging and reboot your immune system using a single natural compound? A breakthrough 2026 study reveals the engine running all of this is the mitochondrion. Every cell in your body relies on these tiny microscopic powerhouses to convert the nutrients you eat into ATP, the chemical energy required for everything from a muscle contraction to an immune response. Like any engine, they take on wear and tear. When they break down, your cells use a strict quality control process called mitophagy. This is the cellular equivalent of taking a car that failed inspection, hauling it to the junkyard, and melting it down for scrap metal. But as you hit your 40s and 50s, mitophagy slows. The cell shifts out of its rigorous maintenance mode, and the cleanup crew effectively clocks out. Without that active recycling process, damaged and leaky mitochondria start piling up inside the cell instead of being cleared out. These broken engines then begin to leak reactive oxygen species into your system. That toxic leak triggers a cascade of chronic, low-grade inflammation across your entire body. Age-related physical decline is driven by this microscopic failure of cellular housekeeping, leading to the chronic state known as inflammaging. Urolithin A targets this exact biological failure. It is classified as a postbiotic, a metabolite produced in the gut rather than a vitamin consumed directly in food. In nature, when you eat foods rich in allagitannins, like pomegranates or walnuts, specific strains of bacteria in your lower intestine digest those plant compounds and produce urolithin A as a byproduct. However, roughly 60% of the human population lacks the specific gut bacteria required to make that conversion happen. This microbiome lottery means eating a bowl of polypinic seeds will not yield therapeutic levels of the compound for most people. That bottleneck is why modern clinical trials rely on direct, highly dosed supplementation. Once absorbed, urolithin A dampens the mTOR pathway, essentially forcing the cell to pause its growth cycle and switch aggressively back into maintenance mode. Bypassing our unpredictable gut microbiomes with a direct postbiotic allows us to manually signal our aging cells to restart those dormant cleanup protocols. To see how this cleanup actually works, we have to zoom all the way down to the surface of a single failing mitochondrion. When the mitochondrion takes damage, a protein called PINK1 accumulates on its outer membrane, acting as a glowing distress beacon. That beacon attracts a secondary enzyme called parkin. Parkin arrives and immediately attaches small molecular tags, known as ubiquitin, to the dead organelle, clearly marking it for disposal. Once the target is tagged, a cellular garbage bag known as an autophagosome arrives and swallows the damaged structure whole. The autophagosome then uses with a lysosome, a structure packed with digestive enzymes that melts the garbage down into its basic raw materials. Those base components are then recycled and rebuilt into fresh, high-output mitochondria. Urolithin A restores the cell's inherent mechanical ability to clear its own garbage and rebuild its engines from within. We can measure the macroscopic results of that cellular cleanup in recent human clinical trials. This chart shows transcriptomic data from human skeletal muscle biopsies. Looking at the gene set enrichment plots here, specifically B, C, and D, there is a clear, measurable upregulation in mitochondrial protein complexes and contractile fibers in the 500 mg urolithin A group. The compound rewires skeletal muscle behavior at the genetic level. That genetic data translates to raw physical force. In rigorous randomized trials by Singh and Liu, middle-aged and older adults taking between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of urolithin A daily experienced significant leaps in hamstring and leg muscle strength. Their endurance increased as well. Participants showed higher aerobic capacity, measured by their peak VO2, and walked noticeably further distances before fatigue during the standard 6-minute walk test. While their performance climbed, their blood work showed a drop in biological friction. The active groups had parallel reductions in C-reactive protein, a primary marker for systemic inflammation. The microscopic act of recycling mitochondria translates to tangible strength, aerobic stamina, and prolonged physical independence for older adults. Researchers are now tracking these same effects inside the aging immune system, tackling a problem known as immunosenescence. Just like muscle tissue, T cells require massive amounts of mitochondrial energy to hunt down and fight infections. As those mitochondria degrade over decades, the immune cells lose their power and enter a state of deep exhaustion. Clinical data published in 2025 and 2026 shows that just 28 days of Urolithin A supplementation successfully reprogrammed aging CD8-positive T cells, pulling them out of that exhausted state and back into a youthful, ready-to-respond profile. Aging is largely a failure of cellular housekeeping. Urolithin A acts as the clinically proven signal to safely restart these cleanup protocols. To follow the future of regenerative medicine, subscribe to Vitality Protocol 8.